What if the biggest thing holding you back in life wasn't your job or your bank account or your circumstances, but the way you actually see yourself? Today, we're diving into a really powerful framework from Pastor Jim Baker that tackles that exact idea. It's a theology of work that suggests changing your inner world is the very first step to transforming your outer one. So let's get right into it.
So Baker's entire philosophy really kicks off right here with this one simple but profound idea. He says that most of us are walking around looking at life through a distorted mirror, like one of those wacky mirrors at a carnival, and we make the mistake of believing that twisted, warped reflection is who we actually are. And that right there raises the huge question this entire framework is built to answer. If our feelings and our day-to-day situations are such a shaky guide, then where on earth do we find the true reflection of who we are? Okay, so before we can find that true reflection, we've got to understand why the mirror we're all looking into is so warped in the first place. Let's break down this first big idea, the deceiving realities that we live with every single day. Just think about the stories we tell ourselves, right? Oh, I've never been good with money, or my boss probably thinks I'm not pulling my weight, or even just, I don't feel successful today. Baker says these are all just reflections bouncing off that distorted mirror, and they build this false identity that traps us in a place he just calls powerlessness. So how do you fix a distorted mirror? Well, the answer isn't to try and bend the reflection back into shape. It's to stop looking in that mirror altogether. It's about finding a completely new source of identity, one that doesn't depend on your circumstances at all. And this brings us right to the heart of it all, what Baker calls a prosperous identity. And let's be super clear here. This has nothing to do with how much money is in your bank account. Not at all. This is an internal reality. It's this rock-solid belief that your true self is whole, capable, and abundant, no matter what your external world happens to look like. This slide just lays it out so perfectly. On the left, you've got that reactive victim mentality. It's defined by whatever that distorted mirror is showing you that day. But on the right, that's a whole different ballgame. You've got the proactive, prosperous identity, which isn't based on a reflection at all, but on a deep belief in your own potential. It's the huge difference between reacting to the world and actually creating it. To really hammer this home, Baker tells this great story about a Marine they called Rambo. See, his core identity was just one word: protector. That's it. So it didn't matter if he was in a war zone or sitting quietly to church play. When a prank firecracker went off, he didn't even think. He just instinctively moved to shield the kids. His actions flowed from who he was, not from where he was. Okay, so once you have this new identity locked in, the whole dynamic shifts. It completely flips. Your focus is no longer on what you can get from the world, but on what you can create for it and give to it. And this is such a critical distinction. A getting mindset sees wealth like a fixed pie. For me to get a bigger slice, you have to get a smaller one. It's a win-lose game. But a creating mindset, that's not about slicing the pie, it's about baking more pies for everyone. The goal is to add so much value to other people's lives that wealth just becomes the natural, inevitable result. So how do you actually do this? Well, Baker lays out this really practical 4-step path. It all starts with being fruitful. That's where you just get good at one thing, even if it's kind of messy at first. From there, you multiply what you offer. You replenish by building smart systems. And finally, you subdue by becoming a true leader in your space. Now, to bring this whole 4-step process to life, Baker tells this absolutely incredible true story from a tiny town in Costa Rica about a single mom who came to be known simply as the Pancake Lady. Get this, she started out totally terrified, with just one skill she knew she had: making pancakes. That was her fruitful stage. As she got great at it, she multiplied her value by adding new dishes to her little menu. Then she replenished, turning her little stall into a full-on catering business with systems and employees. And finally, she subdued the market, becoming the most successful caterer in her entire region. Her journey is just a perfect roadmap of this process. Now, you might be thinking, that's great for the Pancake Lady, but I'm an accountant, right? Well, this whole framework is designed to totally reframe the purpose of any job and turn what can feel like a daily grind into something with real purpose. The central metaphor for this is the easy yoke. A yoke was that wooden bar they used to connect two oxen so they could pull a load together. The idea here is that you are never, ever working alone. So whether you're a plumber wrestling with a rusted-out pipe or an executive staring down a tough quarter, the belief is that you're yoked to a partner who is sharing that load right there with you. So what does this look like in the real world? It means the quality of your work becomes your message. The idea is to go beyond just talking about what you believe. The excellence, the integrity, and the creativity you pour into your job, that becomes the most powerful statement you can possibly make. The teaching shows this with two characters who are just polar opposites. On one hand, you've got Lazy Larry, a made-up character who does the absolute bare minimum just to not get fired. We've all worked with a Lazy Larry, right? But on the other hand, you have the biblical figure Rebecca. When a stranger asks her for a simple drink of water, she says yes and then offers to draw water for all 10 of his thirsty camels. I mean, talk about going above and beyond. That story about Rebecca just perfectly captures the final, actionable principle of this entire framework. It's the idea of living what Baker calls an and then some life. Baker makes this super practical with a personal story about his son's first job at a sandwich shop. Before he even started, he memorized the whole menu. On the job, he'd volunteer for the worst tasks, like cleaning a trashed bathroom. On his days off, he'd go research how other stores were doing things better. He wasn't just doing his job, he was always doing his job, and then some. And the result? Of course, he quickly got promoted to manager of the most successful store in the entire franchise. So when you boil it all down, this whole framework is really about one thing: a massive shift in your mindset. It's a journey from being a passive victim of that distorted mirror to becoming a proactive creator, an and then some person who builds value from a place of unshakable identity. And that leaves us with this final, challenging question to chew on. Think about your day-to-day tasks, whether it's washing the dishes or leading a massive project. How might your approach, your energy, and even your results change if you saw every single task not as a solo burden, but as a creative partnership? It's a powerful idea to think about. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.